Reporting today on more financial gifts Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has received from Republican megadonor Harlan Crow. And the question we're going to ask is, are these stories about Clarence Thomas being fairly reported and amplified, or is he being unfairly singled out? It's a big debate going on right now. ProPublica, in its latest in a series of reports on Crow's gifts to Thomas, revealing that dating back to 2008, the billionaire paid tens of thousands of dollars for 2 years of private school tuition for Thomas's grandnephew, who Thomas and his wife Ginny raised as their own. The tuition payments were not disclosed by the justice, but have been confirmed now by an attorney and friend of the Thomases, who also claims Thomas was under no obligation to report it. Now, of course, the left is saying, see, more corruption by Justice Thomas, and the right is saying, what's the big deal? So either he did nothing wrong, or it's no worse than what other justices have done. That's what they're saying. I've been kind of torn on this. I think these financial gifts and Thomas's apparent failure to disclose them is a big deal. A mega Republican donor providing undisclosed funding to a Supreme Court justice. But I'm also not sure it's as big a deal as the left-leaning media and politicians are making it out to be. The latest news comes after ProPublica reported last month that for over 2 decades, Justice Thomas has been treated to years of luxury vacations by Crow, stays on his super yacht, flights on his private jet, visits to exclusive resorts and to Crow's Texas ranch, and reported none of them. They also found that Justice Thomas failed to disclose a real estate deal he made with Crow nearly 10 years ago, in which a company belonging to Crow bought several properties, including a single-story house and 2 vacant lots. The sellers were Justice Thomas, his mother, and his late brother's family, and renovations to one house, which Thomas's mother was living in, were done on Harlan Crow's dime. Now, he never disclosed that either. When confronted with those reports, Justice Thomas issued a statement basically saying he was advised that what he was doing was okay, but now he would be more careful with new laws on the books, etc. Now, that real estate deal was not about personal hospitality and friendship, and federal law requires certain officials, including Supreme Court justices, to disclose information about most real estate transactions worth more than $1,000. And of course, the left is going nuts.
And for Republicans who are trying to dismiss this, I can't even begin to imagine what would happen if it were Justice Sotomayor, if it was Justice Kagan. There are no rules, it appears. There is nothing that people on the Trump right can do that is going to get condemnation from most Republicans.
Now, many in the right-leaning cable news world have been just ignoring it, but the Wall Street Journal editorial page has been an ardent supporter of Justice Thomas. The editorial board publishing several op-eds supporting him and admonishing the left for, quote, attacking him. On Monday, the Journal writing, it's useful to expose for the record how thin these accusations are, but it's also a mistake to assume that the facts matter to Democrats and their media researchers. This is a political project, and hyped accusations will continue to be asserted as if they're serious. Now, keep in mind, this is all happening against the backdrop of Senate Democrats holding hearings on Supreme Court ethics reform. Now, I should say, we were planning to have both sides here, but one side apparently wasn't able to make it. So we're going to be talking to John Malcolm, Vice President for the Institute for Constitutional Government at the Heritage Foundation, and he thinks this is largely hysteria from the left. And since we're not going to have the other side, maybe I'll make my questions a little more pointed to you. But thanks a lot for coming on the program. Appreciate it. I mean, would you concede that this is a problem? However big a deal it is, would you concede that the new report about Justice Thomas's grandnephew, who they brought up as their own son effectively, getting his private school tuition paid for by Harlan Crow, not reporting it, is a problem?
Well, it's certainly titillating and it's salacious. I don't think that it is a problem, and that I don't think that one could reasonably argue that Justice Thomas's impartiality in any case that has been argued before him on the Supreme Court could reasonably be questioned. So Josh Scarborough just said something that was wrong. He said that there are no rules. There are, in fact, financial disclosure rules. And so the 2 questions that you need to ask in these instances are, one, does Harlan Crow have any cases before the United States Supreme Court? The answer to that is no. And was Justice Thomas required to disclose these matters based on the financial disclosure laws that existed at the time? And the answer to that question is no as well.
That's not.
In fact, when
that
he took
second one's not that clear. I mean, the second one about did he have an obligation to disclose based on, you're right, there are new laws on the books which are tougher, but even based on the old laws that were on the books, there's no question that he should have been reporting some of this. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.